Welcome back to Jewelry Industry Voices, Sibjo's monthly webinar series. And Happy New Year. Kong Hei Fat Choi, as I always used to say from my years in Hong Kong. We welcome in the Year of the Ox today for all of our friends celebrating all around the world. And we hope very much that the year will be auspicious, and most of all, we hope it will be healthy for all of you. Please feel free to identify yourselves in the chat box where you're calling in from today. It's so nice for all of us here, our panelists and my colleagues, to learn where everybody is joining us from all around the world. So welcome back to Jewelry Industry Voices. This webinar series, which is hosted by Sibjo, the World Jewelry Confederation, looks at issues of interest in the jewelry business from the perspective of industry figures. Now, as always, we expect this webinar to last 1 hour, perhaps sometimes longer, as we sometimes do go over, especially when the conversation is stimulating. It is being recorded and will be available to view via Sibjo's website and also our YouTube channel by the weekend. So thank you very much to the Cultured Pearl Association of America, who have supported us with this webinar today. So we extend our thanks to Jennifer Hebner and the Board of Directors. Founded in 1957, the Cultured Pearl Association of America is a non-profit group comprising the finest cultured pearl companies in the United States. The association's goal is to boost the marketability of cultured pearls for retailers while inspiring demand among consumers. So thank you very much to them. So good afternoon and good evening. Welcome wherever you are. I'm in London today, so the sun is setting on a very cold day here in London today. I'm joined as one of the moderators by my colleague, Steve Benson in Tel Aviv. Steve, welcome. I'm sure the weather is a bit warmer where you are. You'll need to unmute, Steve.
You hear me now?
Absolutely.
The weather actually has been fantastic over here. We've must have been in the 70s this whole week, and I don't think we'll be that. We'll get rain sometime next week. Just a few technical details for those people who are joining us for the first time. The seminar, like Ed said, the webinar will run should run an hour, but we generally run a little bit longer. You are invited to ask questions, but what we request is that you use the Q&A box that Zoom provides. Put your questions over there, and then we'll leave some time at the end to pose your questions to the panelists. We'll try to get to everything. In some cases, if it's a personal question to one of the panelists, they have the option sometimes to reply to you in writing. And that is basically all I have to say. What I'd like to do, though, is I'd like to invite Gaetano Cavalieri, the president of Sibjo, to say a few words, and then we'll get on our way.
Thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much to our panelists. Let me also extend my thanks to Jennifer Hebner and the Cultured Pearl Association of America, and obviously our other sponsors. I would like to underline the fact that this activity of the Jewelry Industry Voices is something that is bringing together a lot of people, and we start with this program just to spread out the essence and the beauty of the jewelry industry at large. So I don't want to take any other time. I thank you again. Welcome to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, just to echo Edward in his presentation. And I wish you a very intense, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaetano. So let me get to our panelists today with no further ado. Firstly, Jennifer Huebner. Jennifer is the part-time executive director of the Cultured Pearl Association of America, where she helps promote pearls. She doubles as well as an award-winning journalist who has been covering fine jewelry and fashion for more than 24 years and has long been a proponent of sustainable and beautiful pearls and the people behind the gems. Jennifer, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. You're in the East Coast of the US today. How are you?
Yes, I am. I'm great, thanks. How are you doing, Edward? It's nice.
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you all. It's so stimulating to be much more visual than verbal this month. So thank you.
Yes. Very, very excited to have this conversation with the Sibjo followers. Pearls have long been my favorite. That's how I ended up working with the Cultured Pearl Association. So I'm excited to share some of my favorite designers with everyone today.
Looking forward to it. Next to Peggy Gross. Peggy has over 35 years experience in the fine jewelry industry. Of paramount importance to her with regard to design is the meeting of originality, relevance, and aesthetic appeal. When all come together, she says, there is a sense of accomplishment. Well, Peggy, I can tell you that looking through some of the slides and pieces that you've chosen today, I felt a real sense of accomplishment from just looking at them. So thank you very much.
God bless you, Edward.
Welcome to the event today. It's nice to have you with us and such an honor to have our sale represented. Thank you.
Honor for us to be here.
And next on our panel is Patricia Faber. Patricia is past president of the American Society of Jewelry Historians, a member of the Women's Jewelry Association, the Art Jewelry Forum, and a graduate gemologist from GIA. She and her husband and partner, Edward Faber, participate in jewelry shows throughout the year and look forward to being able to travel to them again soon. Patricia, I think we can honestly say me too, and just about everybody else in the audience. Welcome, and where are you calling in from today?
Thank you. From the Midtown Manhattan in New York City. It's very cold and it's snowy, but I feel like this seminar is global. I feel like at least virtually I'm able to travel. I see from the chat there are people from all over the world, and that's very exciting.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning that, Patricia. It's so nice for all of us when we see people identified in the chat. It brings that internationalism and collaboration to our world here. And so thank you for that. When we can't be physically together, at least we can be virtually from time to time through these webinars. Next to Sean. Sean Gilson is a designer and a goldsmith, personally handcrafting each creation, as well as creating items for his own customers and eponymous collection. Sean also collaborates with gem dealers and jewelry companies, ASAL being one. Sean works from his studio in Connecticut and his workshop in New York. Good afternoon, Sean. I believe you're calling in from Connecticut today.
I am. A couple of feet of snow that we have here. I'm thankful to be part of this illustrious panel. You know, most of the people here have long histories that they've been around for a long time, and the panelists are in for the viewers are in for a real treat here because they've got some really wonderful people on the panel here.
Great, and you've already got some fans in the chat box there. I see Valerie Demure loves your work, so there you go. Next, let's move to Melanie Georgikopoulos. By nature, Melanie is a storyteller. With a background in sculpture, she works with materials in new ways to release their potential and open the viewer up to new interpretations. Given this method, working with pearls is a natural choice as their organic construction means each one has an individual beauty. She celebrated 10 years running her eponymous business last year. And since 2012, she has collaborated with the Japanese jewelry company Tasaki with the joint brand M/G Tasaki. Melanie, the / is representative of something, isn't it? Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, it's in regards to the slicing of the pearls. So we thought it was fitting to include it in the brand, and it also helps keep my initials together since we couldn't use the whole name. It was far too long, but thank you so much for having me here. I'm very, very excited to share with the panelists and the attendees our love for pearls worldwide.
Lovely, thank you. So let's get into the discussion today, reinventing pearl jewelry. From my perspective, pearls are right on point right now. The singer, Ariana Grande's engagement ring last month featured a pearl given to her by her grandma, paired with a lesser oval cut diamond. I can say that amongst pearl fans here. And even more recently, Amanda Gorman made history as the first person to recite a poem at the Super Bowl. And she did so while wearing a pearl headband, which many have likened to a crown. So clearly, pearl jewelry has an ability to appeal to Millennial and Gen Z or Z consumers with its timelessness and glamour. Additionally, some cultured pearls have a unique environmental sustainability credentials, a quality that's not shared by most other fine jewelry components. But to do that, to appeal to the new generation of consumers coming through, pearls may need to relinquish its image as a conservative and a sensible jewelry item. So how should this be achieved? How can pearl jewelry be made more attractive and more fashionable to the modern consumer? This is the question we asked each of our panelists to address, and we asked them to do this by selecting their favorite pearl jewelry designs or designers and to tell us why. So for their perspectives, we'd like to go through their 5 choices and ask for their opinions as to why they chose them. Let's start with Jennifer Hebner first. Jennifer, Steve, if we could move the slides on, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Hebner. Thrilled to be here. I feel like I'm among friends and family here, all these wonderful pearl lovers I see checking in from all over the world, and some of my favorite people you'll see on my slides in a moment. I've long been a pearl lover, and I have given a version of this talk in the past, and it was a challenge to limit myself just to 5 slides. Normally I have 40, 45 slides. There are so many amazing designers who are working with pearls today. So to limit myself to just 5 was really a challenge, but I have to say these would be in my top 5 on the following slides.
Well done for doing so, Jen.
Yeah.
Steve, if we can move on. So you've chosen somebody on our panel. Now,
Yes.
tell us your thought process behind this.
Melanie is, and it's interesting, we're having a little playful battle in the chat room about who's the head of the Melanie Georgakopoulos fan club. I'm saying it's me, Peggy's saying it's her. Quite a few folks are weighing in. What Melanie has done for pearls is just extraordinary. She is absolutely masterful. What she's done with mother of pearl in particular has just been incredible, because I have always loved mother of pearl. It's a beautiful material, but for years we've only seen it used in inexpensive, for the most part, in inexpensive jewelry set in silver, little tiny pieces of it when it's got this huge, beautiful luster to it. What Melanie has done is turned it into high art with custom cuts of the material. That the big cuff bracelet you see there is from the Tile collection. This is all part of Nacre, though, isn't it, Melanie? Yes, she's shaking her head. Okay. So it's all part of her Nacre collection, but I think this is the collection that really got me hooked. And how these, I mean, it's such a laborious task to custom cut all these individual slabs of mother of pearl. So it's just extraordinary. And then she's highlighted the cuff further with a beautiful golden South Sea pearl, Baroque pearl with little accents of 18 karat gold. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's high art. It's something that we have never seen in mother of pearl before. The next, I'm going to jump over to, oh, actually, I'm not ready for the next slide yet, Steve. Could you go back? Okay, thank you. And then the pearl necklace here, it's a mix of round pearls or near round pearls with cubes, custom cut cubes of black mother of pearl. So again, it's just a beautiful representation and use of mother of pearl that we've never seen before. And then the centerpiece is from her newest collection that it's a collection of natural pearls set into mother of pearl. And again, this is a custom cut. This is, I just wrote about this a week or so ago on my website, jenniferhuebner.com. And Melanie has chosen hippocampus pearls to set into the mother of pearl. And look at that detail. Can you imagine the work it took to make it look like she has placed each hippocampus pearl directly into the mother of pearl, as if it just sank in on its own and it just snuggled in there, nestled in there. It's just incredible to me.
It's wonderful work, Jen. Yeah. I absolutely sorry to jump in. Let's see the next one. Who have you chosen next?
Okay. Next, we have Asael. Peggy and Sean are on this panel, of course. I'm just enamored with the work that they're both doing at the brand. For them to take South Sea pearls, Tahitian and white and golden, and use them and put them into playful settings. It's really extraordinary. And another thing that I love that they're doing is they are using other types of gemstones that pick up the accents, the color accents in the pearls themselves. So I love in those earrings, the Tahitian pearls set with rutilated quartz. I just think it's really such a graphic representation and use of the pearl. Wonderful. I love the tiara there, the bubbles tiara offset with diamonds. It's just so beautiful. And the cuff, you can see they've chosen all these natural color sapphires that pick up the natural colors of the Tahitian pearls. And it's just an absolute masterpiece. Oh, spinel, excuse me. Thank you, Peggy. No, I appreciate calling that out. They're just beautiful. And that piece has sold already, hasn't it, Peggy? Yes, it's just gorgeous.
It deserved to have a new home. So thank you.
The newest one is the tiara there.
Yes, love that tiara.
So let's move to your next choice and reasons for it.
Mm-hmm. The next designer is Muzuki, and Muzuki Goltz is the name of the designer, and her brand is Muzuki. She's based in New York, and I love her use of pearls in very modern settings. These earrings are from her Kazanchi stick collection. It's a type of Korean art, and I just love it's very playful, it's very dramatic, very graphic, and it is such a bold, modern use of pearls, completely unexpected. It's just going to have wide appeal to an emerging collector, as well as established collectors like myself. It's just very, very modern and striking. So she does this a lot with her pieces, and that's why I love her brand.
I think what's also interesting about them from my perspective is, depending on the types of material she uses, she can have a very wide price point. And
yes,
I saw that in one of the articles you wrote about the range of the price points at these pieces. So some very affordable and entry level, and some very high end.
That's a very good point. Yes, you can go, it's very easy in pearls to go from a lesser price point to a higher price point, depending on the materials used. So everybody can enjoy a pearl piece.
Great.
Ready for the next slide, Steve?
Absolutely.
Now that the next slide, this is the maker, the brand is called Little H. The maker is Hisano Shepherd, and she is married to Jeremy Shepherd, who is another powerhouse in the pearl industry. Hisano is just brilliant. She is the genius behind the pearl geode. She is the first person to start slicing souffle pearls, which are hollow inside, and pavéing them with gemstones and other small pearls. So it looks like a geode, one of these big fabulous, geodes that we see at the Tucson shows. this is what Hisano has created. And it's just absolutely brilliant. And she's able to keep giving it new life through different iterations. She keeps the look going. It's just very clever. No one else has done this. And it's just really brilliant, brilliant work by Hisano. Ready for the next slide, Steve? Unless you want to add something, Edward.
No, I mean, for me, it's the boldness of the color, which is so different there. As you said, it looks like a geode, and we think of those, almost dyed colors. Perhaps some of them are, but it's the way they interplay with the purity of the pearl. It is a beautiful look and very unique, as you said. The next brand I'm going to talk about, Alico Pearl, they're not actually a design house. They are a wholesaler. They're a dealer. They import pearls from Asia. But he has the owner of the brand, Aziz Bezalili. He's the president of the Culture Pearl Association. But he has such an eye, and he brings back these super high-end pearls that you're not going to see anywhere else. He has he started importing these makai, or little mosaic pearls, a few years ago, and he is the source for them in the United States. They're just absolutely beautiful, and they're used by some of the best jewelry brands in the country. Deirdre Featherstone uses them, Erica Courtney uses them, so many others, Samira 13, the brand. Alico also gets beautiful qualities of natural color blue Akoyas. That's what that strand is there. He just gets beautiful qualities of them. And then freshwater pearls. These, the strands that we see there, the triple strand there, it's a mix of Tahitian pearls with natural color freshwater pearls. And this is the quality that he brings back. He has a really good following among designers who know that he has this top quality merchandise. And I just love the brand for what they're able to bring back. It's very unique, and they have a distinct voice in the pearl industry. Thank you for kicking us off with some absolute visual treats there, Jen. And, as a pearl lover for many, many years and a pearl author, you've chosen some really great ones to start us off with. Peggy, welcome to the conversation. Let's get to yours now. Let's see your first image that you chose.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Asael is a pearl company. We are pearl dealers. For 70 years, Salvador Asael really has a great history, but we've done jewelry for many decades too. So when I do jewelry, I try to put aside any notions of the past of pearls, and I think of them as in shape, in color, and in glow, which I like more than luster. So in this case, I'm thinking about color. And when I saw these bicolor tourmalines, I knew we had Tahitians with pinks and greens, and here you go. Not a very otherworldly shape, a pearl with a stone underneath. The round and the cushion happen to be the same diameter. But for me, this one is about color. And these are large. Pearls are 15-ish millimeters.
And for me,
and they're left and right, left ear and right ear earrings. So we can go to the next slide.
Thank you. For me as well, what strikes me with those and this next piece is the way that you're working with the color in unusual colored gemstones. And Steve, if you can go, thank you. So here, the color is bringing out the silvery white of the South Sea pearl. This is an aquamarine, if I'm right.
It is an aquamarine. It's a very fine aquamarine. And for me, this is an example of dealing with shape. You see that is a paisley cut. And for me, that curve of the paisley was just calling for a perfectly round pearl to fit in. There's still some space between the aqua and the pearl to give each of them their due, but the pearl is fitting into that space of the paisley. Again, thinking about pearls in shape, with color and glow. This one is, I think, more about shape. But yes, Edward, color as well. Of course, I had to have a silvery South Sea for this.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And, you know, I hope we're getting the picture here, of course, that this is well beyond what your grandma would have won, if we can use that rather cliched phrase. And here again is another great example. Tell us more about this stunning piece.
Thank you. We are fortunate to have some beautiful colors of Fiji pearls from Justin Hunter. And these are green toned Fiji pearls. And I had wanted to use peridot, but I needed just the right shade of peridot. These squares for me are a complete opposite, a juxtaposition from the round of the pearl. And because I'm sure most of us in the jewelry business also love beautiful decorative arts and furniture and things, I've been into some mid-century lately. And for me, these are like mid-century mobiles.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that you hung over your dining room table or on a wall. And so every part of this is articulated. The posts between the pearl and the peridots move, and the posts between the peridots and each of the other pearls move, and they're left and right ear specific, obviously. But you can switch them. Anyway, yes, I think these are fun and modern, and the gold is green gold.
All right, lovely. And the way that you're pulling out the color from these wonderful Fijian pearls with the color of the peridot. So
thank you. I love them. And it's a part of a collection we call Modern Mobiles.
Yes, thank you. And if people want to see more of these, your website has a number of images of other varieties with other colored stones on there as well. Let's move to the next one.
Okay, so as I said, ASAL, we're pearl dealers, and we have this amazing inventory from fine to gem, and some of it is keshi. And who doesn't love keshi pearls? 100% nacre. And these are, I don't know if the photo shows, there's a slight blue, but a definitive silver in these keshis. And I thought light blue aquamarine would be the watery choice to use these keshis for. And I didn't want to do, I'm not a flower person. I didn't want to do a classic flower, but these are floral-like. The shorter pearls are towards the jaw, and the longer pearls are towards the outside. They are left and right ear specific, so you can really see them from the front or the side. And those, for me, we did things like this using keshis of different color undertones. They look good on.
And the gemstones are aquamarines, right?
Yes, these are intentionally pale aquas. And we can go to the next one.
Yeah.
This is the intersection between Sean Gilson for Asael, and eventually when you see Sean Gilson. This is the first ring of the bubble collection. I said to Sean, who cannot stop buying pearls at trade fairs or anywhere there are pearls, what are you going to do in 10 lifetimes with your pearls? And he said, basically, leave me alone. It makes me happy. And I said, we'll start making even more. What should I do? And I said, think of what Coco Chanel would do today.
Yeah.
And voila, he's always done bubbles of some sort. But this is, to me, this is very modern. Has not another gemstone in it. And the very cool thing about it is there's no metal holding each of the pearls there. That shank goes from the bottom of one pearl and back into that pearl. So I'll let the jewelers figure out how he managed the rest. But this is modern to me, and the earrings I wear are part of that collection in two pieces, kind of front and back. And
I love that concept that you gave him the challenge. What would Coco Chanel do or wear? if she was still around. And this is what Sean came up with. Well, perhaps
She's
Sean
the
will be
one that put pearls in the casual,
Absolutely.
bold fashion for women category.
I'm sure she's looking down from a high fashion cloud and admiring these and admiring anybody wearing them. Peggy, thank you so much for those visual treats.
Thank you. Thank you, Edward.
Patricia Faber next. So Patricia, welcome to the conversation and thank you for joining us from your gallery in Midtown. Let's go for your first choice. Something different, I think. Hi. Patricia? I think you're just on mute if you want to unmute. Steve, if you want to move the slides. There we go.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Excellent. All right.
Slight,
So
a slightly different choice here. Tell us about this.
I was thrilled to be invited to be part of this webinar. We are a gallery of some 40 years, and for that time, we've been working with artists who are always in the vanguard of trend and the next and what will become important. And looking at pearls and loving pearls, we did a show called Redefining Pearls a few years ago. And then looking at today, I realized that pearls are here. They're here, they're exciting. They are musicians. These are musicians, Usher, Joe Jonas, and Harry Styles. They are always leading the way. They're always more adventurous in the way they dress and what they wear. But it's also a trend for millennials and Gen X that of gender fluid. There's no definition of what you ought to wear or who you ought to be. And so I think these three guys exemplify that very well. The other thing I like about it is it reminds us how soft, sensual, and comfortable pearls are. It's part of the reason I think that they're wearing them and enjoying them. And we see more and more guys, more and more men, fashion influencers wearing them. So I think the time of the pearl is absolutely here. To see the designs I just saw by Sean and others, it's so inspiring. So it's always more exciting.
And what's interesting, you mentioned, influencers. Of course, these three are stars in their own right, but what they choose to wear can really influence other people. So they're really driving forward trends, and they've been doing it for a while. Your next slide as well is interesting to me because there's another fashion icon that's been doing it a while. Tell us about these.
So Pharrell on the left, he is famous singer. He's an amazing music producer. He's an artist, and he's been wearing long drapes of pearls for years, always looking fabulous in them. And then in the center is Emma Stone with her incredible, wonderful pearl engagement ring. So that's another point in marketing to millennials and to Gen X. It's a new time, and young people are choosing things that are personal, that are a statement that they perhaps co-produce with the maker or the jeweler or the artist, and very often designing their engagement rings. And I think Emma Stone's pearl is an example of this. And then on the right, Kamala Harris, who is the new vice president in the United States and has been wearing pearls, is a younger generation than all the ladies politicians who have always worn pearls. And she's wearing them differently. She's wearing them in a smaller design, and she's wearing them by a designer, Wilfredo. So I think it's an exciting time for pearls, and I think it can reach across all the markets. I think you and Jennifer had mentioned how the price points of Muzuki's earrings, for example, are very affordable and also perhaps more high end. And I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. Well, we got some real fashion icons there. Let's turn to something a little bit more personal now, shall we?
This is retro. This is my own retro. This is 10 years old. This is part of my personal collection. It was designed by Robert Wan of Pearl fame, and it is a cluster ring of pearls, Tahiti, cerclay, not matched, drilled. You can see that. It's a cocktail ring. It's big. It goes on your hand, and it makes sort of a mushroom on top of your hand. It's wonderfully comfortable, and I think its retail was at some point was $1,100. So again, I'm always thinking of price points as a retailer. How can I introduce Gen X and millennials to pearl jewelry and make it exciting and make it affordable, and we hope make it personal.
And I might have missed it, but which lucky lady gets to wear this?
That's me. That's mine. I've had it a long time, and I enjoy it. I don't wear it all the time, but
nice,
I really like it.
nice.
I'll be wearing it in a few days. So
lucky you.
Yeah.
Let's go to something a bit more substantial, shall we, for the next piece?
Yes. Our gallery represents artists who make jewelry, and one of the better known of them is the Munsteiner studio. We originally represented the father, Bernd Munsteiner, who's still alive and well and making things wonderfully. And the studio now is in the hands of Tom and Jutta Munsteiner. They have turned towards pearls to integrate and make their work more wearable and more exciting, and to play with that color. So I think this is a 400+ carat amethyst necklace with Tahitian pearls. And if it were a metal necklace, or if it were all amethysts, it would be hard to wear. It would be heavy, and it's certainly it's a major creation. And instead, with the pearls, it plays off the purple color. You can see around the back, it's extremely comfortable to wear, and it makes a great statement. So this is the kind of jewelry, like Sean's jewelry, that we've shown for so many years. And I think it has helped bring the market to this.
And we've got your last piece up on screen as well.
Okay, this is by Peter Schmidt of Atelier Zobel, and this is very typical of how artists have turned to pearls to integrate their works, their metal works, which are sort of their statements, in a wearable fashion. So this is actually convertible. You can wear just the pearls. You can wear a little tiny clasp, or you can wear this large statement piece with a peacock mabe pearl.
And I think what's interesting about that for me is the way the colors of the pearls are matched to the gold threading, or is it in the piece there. So it's again this theme of working with the color of the other materials and matching them with the pearls here.
Yeah, or not. This could be worn also with Tahitians, with darker pearls, to pick up the mabe pearl, the darker tones of that. But it's a lot of changeability, so that the person who owns this can wear the piece as a pin, they can wear just the pearls, they can use a smaller clasp, and it allows people from perhaps an older generation who have stunning South Sea pearls but want something inventive to have that opportunity.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. And somebody in the chat, Duval Osteen, has said she loves the fact that you know what jewelry you're wearing days in advance. And thank you very much for those selections. Let's move on now. Let's get into the designer makers for the last two, and let's turn to Sean Gilson out there in Connecticut. Let's see your first piece here, Sean. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this, one of the most important things is innovation and design and relevance to what designers do today. To I'd also like to mention that we work based upon others that have come before us. And I just wanted to mention that, one of the original fellows, Jose Hess, just passed away. And, if it weren't for people like that came before that help us younger designers, and I use that relatively, it's important that everybody be aware of that sort of thing. This piece was, they're V pearls, but I wanted to make them into something that was a more modern interpretation, something that's very graphic. It tends to be flatter than most of the pieces that I do, although the pearls themselves have volume. But it's it's a larger piece, about 3 inches across, and just taking pearls in their cultivated form and putting them into another sort of unexpected way to be used.
I think it's interesting to me that the simplicity of it, but the impact through the simplicity. It's also something that we'll talk about in another one of your pieces, but who owns this piece now?
I feel terrible because I don't have it here tonight with me. I feel absolutely terrible, but I just love this piece. I saw it. I met Sean for the first time in Geneva, and he just brought it out while showing other pieces. And I was thinking about it, when you have a piece, that doesn't happen to me very often, when I have a piece and it just sticks in your mind and it's not going away. And it was love at first sight. So I am the extremely happy owner of this beautiful, beautiful brooch. Thank you, Sean.
And it never divulge who things go to. It's up to them to say so. But I mean, for me, a piece like this, it's a real honor to have another designer want to own one of your pieces. And so, I think especially with Melanie being, really the next generation of pearl designers or designers, it's really an honor for me. It's really important that people understand what she's doing right now is laying the groundwork for others. I'm really excited to see what else that she does. She's the best of what design is about. Coming up with new things, putting them in context that you don't normally see.
Again, we're vying for the president of the Melanie Georgia Coppola's fan club. So, but let's move to this next wonderful piece. These bubble earrings. Tell us about these, why you chose them specifically.
I chose these because it's a version of the bubbles. They're all Akoya pearls. The bubbles tend to be pearls from South Sea, Akoya, Chinese freshwater. It's gotten a little bit more difficult to get round Chinese freshwater. So I tend to use more of the Akoya and the South Sea. But this is based upon another series of all gold earrings that I had done. And this is something that, that ear wire was it was an idea of Peggy's, being an older fellow and not really wanting to be told what to do. I was smart enough about a dozen years ago to associate with Peggy, and we collaborate on things. And this is, so this is a logical extension of that gold group and the pearls and the bubbles themselves. And the bubbles, the bubbles that I've been doing for close to 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the next slide. This is another selection from the bubble collection where the Tahitians and coral, it's more difficult to see in something like this, where there's subtlety in the Tahitians, where there's aubergines and there's violets. that play up the color of the coral. One of the things that you'll notice about a lot of my pieces is they are pretty simple. And a lot of people, which is, to my mind, the hardest thing to do, something innovative and simple, because oftentimes what people do is will say, ah, that's so obvious, where's the design? To which I respond, well, you didn't come up with the idea.
Yeah.
So, you know, really a lot of trial and error and failure goes into a lot of these pieces before, you know, before they become public.
When you're working on the bubble collection, what inspires you most? Working with different color shades like this, or working with different sizes of pearls? I'm thinking of, you know, the original bubble rings, and you know, it's just white pearls, if I can say that. But this, when you started moving into different colors here, it's a different realm.
Yeah, I mean, even with the white South Sea white bubbles, there is subtlety of color and texture within the South Sea and the Japanese that often are not translated in a photograph. So a lot of times the pieces will have a presence, especially when you put them on. Jewelry is not miniature sculpture. It can be sculptural, but it's not miniature sculpture because it's meant to be worn, and it's a personal sort of form of, as some people say, art. I leave that to other people. And in the case of this, you know, it's working with the colors of the Tahitians, the size, the shape, the proportions next to each other is really important. And a lot of the things, you know, I've done versions of chaotic mixes. They appear chaotic, but they're very purposeful in the way they put together. So yeah. Hope that answers your question.
It does. We've got a couple more slides, so let's move on to the next one. And now this is very interesting.
You know, color and form, gray agate cup with coral, and these happen to be, one's a Chinese freshwater, the other is, I believe it's a South Sea. And, you know, one of the most recent iterations of an inspiration for the bubbles was to put things together with no metal showing. And you can't see any metal on this, with the exception of the rings. You can't see, with the shank on the rings, you can't see the metal. I've done some necklaces where the clasp and the pearls were all pearls. And so, you know, it's a question of where you want to put the function, the focus, and how you go about functionally doing that. I'm primarily a designer. I just happen to be pretty good at putting things together and solving problems.
Yeah.
So this is a fun piece. I like this piece.
Beautiful piece. Thank you. And let's turn to your last one now. Oh, sorry, second last. Yeah.
Well, simple sort of color and form, Tahitian with Sardinian coral, no metal except for the pin back. This is about 3 inches. And I have numbers of sizes, so you can wear a cascade of these on your shoulder or wherever you choose.
Yeah, lovely. Coral and Tahitian black pearl here. So, and for your last piece, I think this is a stunning image. Must have taken a long time to collect all those pearls.
Yeah, those are all natural pearls. And it evolved from the opal, because that opal is flat on the surface. And so this was like a foam around it. A lot of variety of colors. The band is a steel shank, and within the pearls themselves, you can see some of the picture that there are lavender and steel blue colored diamonds, which I wanted a contrast with the soft and hard luster of the variety of pearls in there. So I just wanted this little glint of to catch your eye. And it's an interesting piece. The pearls took about 3 years to accumulate.
Fantastic. Well worth the wait. Well, we're getting interesting comments. I see somebody saying that they're beguiled. And I think that as you've described to me, the opal itself, it's quite a beguiling, shimmering pool of water effect on that opal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing those choices, Sean. There's beautiful, beautiful images. Last but not least, let's turn to Melanie. So let's see your first piece that you selected, Melanie, and tell us why you selected this piece.
Well, it's the sliced necklace. It's now an MG Tasaki piece. And I could not show this piece because I think a lot of people in the that know about my work think of slicing first. So I wanted to set the record straight about the slicing technique. I basically stumbled upon pearls when I studied at the Royal College of Art during my master's in 2006. And because I had studied sculpture before, my first reaction to pearls was to look what was inside because it's opaque. So I was simply curious. And when I cut one in two, I found these beautiful concentric circles. It looks like a tree trunk. So it's something I could understand the process of how they're made. And eventually I decided to dedicate my degree show to pearls. And then it sort of went on from there. And I started my eponymous brand in 2010. But I look back at this technique and at this design, and I feel for me, it's really an homage to what pearls are. They are an organic material. And I think at the time it was a very instinctive reaction to the pearl necklace, this symbol of status, of bourgeoisie, of elegance, of all these big words, and also a symbol of something that used to be worn, because when I started, there wasn't really any interesting contemporary jewelry. But for me, this really shows that you can have the most perfect pearls, but they just look fake if they're too big and if they're too perfect. Sometimes, to me, when I went to big stores and I would see 20,000 pound strands, I didn't feel a connection with it as a material. I just couldn't relate to it. And I think that was, for me, that's the beginning of my pearl story. And I'm very happy to have, let's say, invented the slicing technique. But I, from then on, decided to use a technique when it made sense and when it added to the design. And I think this is the direction I've taken within my brand since I started. For me, the design is important. I try to put thoughts of price or, other people's ideas of what a pearl piece should look like, and I try to follow my own path. So.
And how was it accepted when you first did this? You were a relatively young student and not well known in the trade. How did the trade accept you slicing pearls?
I don't know if they accepted it or not. I think I had some comments that were negative and some positive, but I think it must have felt very new and a bit shocking. And I think it took a long time for people to accept it as something they would be potentially interested to buy. So I made smaller items which were less offensive. And then when Tasaki knocked on my door in 2012, it's really the first item that they wanted to look at because they had never seen anything like it. So that risk or that naivety, which I definitely had, actually opened one of the biggest doors, if not the biggest door of my career a few years later. So it sort of gave me the confidence to just continue with my path, regardless of what people said to me.
And I think we're pleased that we're all pleased that you continued on that path. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about here, taking traditional images and changing them. So slicing them up is absolutely art in my book. Yeah. Now this substantial piece here, this wonderful necklace, necklace, jumper, how do you describe it? It's
definitely not jumper, no. No, it's this is the second direction I take in my work. So the first one is to look at the pearl as a material and what I can do with it, because I've obviously sliced it, but I've also drilled it, I've faceted, I've done all sorts of things to it. The second direction is to look at it as a fashion accessory, because I feel that pearls, especially for my generation and now a new one, as we can see, we want to see how we can we want to see how we can wear it as a fashion accessory rather than as a statement of status or anything else. I don't think young people have interest in that, or they don't really think about these things that much. So I wanted to see how the scale that I could achieve with pearls. And then I used silver chains, and this was for a collaboration I was invited to do back in 2012 or 13, I think. And I think, again, my sculpture background kicks in because it's an object which you can just display and have around. And then once you wear it, it becomes a piece of jewelry. And as Sean said, you know, jewelry can be sculptural, but it also has to be worn and it has to be comfortable. So I felt this piece achieves both.
And these are all freshwater cultured pearls?
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Let's move to the next one.
This is, I'm actually wearing one. This is what I call a pearl knuckle duster ring. So it's actually a I don't know what you can see, but it's a 4-finger ring. And I think it relates to this idea of pearls as a fashion accessory, but I was also looking at how I could make the pearls look edgier and completely take them out of their context. And this is one of the most, let's say, extreme directions I went to, because it's a collaboration with a Palladium board back when I was part of the British Fashion Council. And so the outside is done, the metal is just Palladium and the pearls are touching the skin, which is usually not really recommended for wearing on the hand. And again, looking at the design and how you can basically suspend, it looks like you're suspending pearls in the air and no one really knows how you're supposed to wear this, which I love.
Beautiful, beautiful image. And as you say, the knuckle duster ring is a nice analogy. Now, this piece, of course, cuts to a very important point about engagement rings. Tell us about this.
You know, looking back, I actually realize that sometimes the pieces show my thoughts at the time without me actually thinking about them. So this, I think, was designed around the time where I was getting married. And I think a lot of people were asking me, especially in Japan, Tasaki, so are you gonna wear a pearl ring? And I was like, I don't know. And this is a Mabe pearl. This is done with Tasaki. It's part of the Facets collection. And it's the pearl is obviously faceted as a diamond and then encased in their trademark Sakura gold. And I think I'm seeing a wave now of people, friends, younger people who really question whether we should be wearing, why should we wear diamond rings for engagements? It's again, one of those things that my generation, and I think especially the younger generation, is questioning all those things that we're being told we should do. And big things like weddings or, you know, having kids, etc., all sorts of things. Then I think it's important to question if it's really, if something like a diamond ring is really for us, and maybe there's other options. And especially in Japan, where MG Tasaki sells mainly, and also China, they have an enormous amount of love and respect for pearls. So this kind of item actually would totally appeal to a Japanese customer who doesn't really necessarily go for the Western diamond engagement ring. So I thought it was an interesting proposal. And also within my personal trajectory, I think I'm also discovering other kinds of pearls. So not everything has to be white and round, which is what people think of initially. When someone says a pearl, you think it's a sphere and it's white, but there's so many other kinds of pearls. And one of those is a mabe, which of course is blister. So you need to do different things to it, and the color is completely unique. So I felt that this was
thinking about the colors, if I can. Sorry to interrupt. Thinking about the colors, somebody's asking about the color of the gold. Tell us briefly, if you can, about that.
Well, I think it's a kind of pink gold, but they've named it Sakura because Sakura is obviously the flower that blossoms in Japan, and it's a very, very special time of the year for them, and it's a very special flower. And I think it was a very nice connection to name the gold Sakura gold. So they obviously know the consistency of it, but it looks like pink gold or rose gold.
Let's look at your last piece now.
Yes, I wanted to finish with this because it's a group of pieces from the Nacre collection. And I felt that this is really the collection where I try to stand exactly in the middle of my sculpture and my jewelry background. So these are sculptural pieces with jewelry elements. When you look at them, you're not quite sure how you're supposed to wear them. Then you put them on, and especially for the rings, the pearl helps the ring to stay in place. And so it has a utilitarian role. And I've tried to match the mother of pearl to the same color of the pearl. So I think in a sense, I was trying to return the pearl to its original oyster. And this is one of the latest collections that I've launched because I started to have this interest in mother of pearl. And I thought it was important to showcase it alongside the pearl, but also in its own right, because it's a beautiful material. It's completely underused in the jewelry industry. I think the watch industry has actually done more interesting things with it. And for me, I felt it's a way forward to sort of open up from the pearl to actually look at its environment and what I can do with that material, because I think at the heart of what I do, craftsmanship is extremely important, elevating materials and not just relying on a very, very expensive pearl or a very, very expensive diamond or other gemstone.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, we're rounding out the hour, so I made the call that the visual and the verbal was so stimulating. We are going to go over an hour, so apologies. Please feel free if any of our attendees need to be somewhere else. What I'd like to do to finish with is just have a quick question to each of you, if you can be brief, to give us your perspective on the outlook for pearl jewelry in 2021. Maybe we'll start as we began with Jennifer first, if I can turn to you briefly for your outlook for pearl jewelry this year.
Sure. I think the outlook is tremendous. I think the more that we cast a spotlight on this type of innovative design and put and give a voice to these designers, the more people are going to fall in love with pearl jewelry and realize it's not what they thought. It's not the cliche, your grandmother's pearls. It's something much more beautiful and rich, and the variety is incredible. And it's also got a phenomenal sustainability story as far as the South Sea category, really. Beautiful pearls only come from pristine aquatic environments around the world. So it's a story that we need to keep telling.
Thank you. And Peggy, I see you're nodding, but your thoughts on the outlook for pearl jewelry as a dealer there?
Never been brighter. It's like a perfect storm. First of all, in jewelry history, the history maybe of anything, the pendulum swings. You know, one decade, it's all white diamonds and platinum, and then rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, and then other colored stones come into, I mean, the pendulum swings. It was time for pearls again. And the sustainability issue helped. I mean, the environmental thing helped. And you can hardly see a fashion runway anywhere in the world where the models aren't full of pearls. It's a perfect storm. It could not be brighter.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And Patricia, from your gallery with your finger on the pulse of the consumer, what's your outlook this year for pearl jewelry?
Well, it's I think I was clear from the start of how strong I think that the market is, and the time is really here. But I will tell you that yesterday, 2 days ago, a client of ours came back. Her husband gave her a very special gift of metal jewelry, beautiful, beautiful, precious jewelry. And she came back with it and traded it for a pearl necklace. And this was a younger client, and the conversation about your mother's pearls never came up. So it really is the time of the pearl.
Thank you very much. And Sean?
Well, I think the outlook's good as long as we pay, as designers, we pay attention to what good design and making things relevant to how people live today. Simple as that.
A very designer-led answer, thank you, and very cutting right to the chase. And Melanie, can I put the last question briefly to you, the outlook for pearl jewelry this year?
I completely agree with Sean. And I think I have a feeling that as people have, or I have certainly looked more inwards this year, I feel people are looking for more personal jewelry, a story, something to relate to. And I think as a designer, I really welcome people talking to me and sharing their ideas or their feelings with me. They get in touch with me all the time. And I think we should continue this and not forget this when we come out of lockdown, all those personal relationships that we have built during the lockdown. And I think Pearl feels somehow more personal than buying other gemstone-based jewelry. So I'm very happy to be part of this and to also see how far we can move on with our design. I mean, especially with Sean, since he's the other designer on the panel. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. We do have some time for some questions now. I'm looking in the chat box, in the question box, and there is an interesting one here that I'd like to put perhaps to Jennifer first. Are younger people drawn to pearls as much for their sustainability as for their beautiful aesthetics? Or is the sustainable aspect appealing to all age groups and all markets? I think what we're talking about there is what's more important, the story or the aesthetics of the piece?
I think the sustainability story really hooks the younger client, and then they fall for the beauty of the pearl. And it's a story that we have to keep doing. We have to keep sharing. We can't tell enough the sustainability story of it. I mean, when I talk to jewelers around the country, many younger clients are looking for sustainable goods, particularly for engagement rings. But they have that interest there. They want to know that the jewelry they purchase is doing good somewhere else in the world. And even if they don't choose pearl for their engagement ring, which some of them are, they will learn that the story of the pearl is that pearls are helping people in remote communities. They're helping aquatic environments around the world. Pearl farming communities do a lot of good for the world. And I think that's a story. I know that's a story that's very important to the emerging consumer.
Thank you very much. We're 7 minutes past. We respect everybody's time. Before we finish for today, I would just like to give the floor back to Gaetano Cavalieri, president of SIBJO, to say a few closing words. Gaetano.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for the wonderful story behind each one of you and in front each one of you. I would like to say a few words about the story of the pearls, because the people has to know, and I'm sure they know, that behind every single piece of jewelry, there are so many stories about the designer, as Sean said, about the beauty of the pearls, as Peggy said, about the wonderful elements and feelings that the pearls are giving to the people, as Patricia said, about the beautiful essence of designing and making a piece of jewelry with pearls, as Melanie said, and last but not least, the issues related to sustainability, as Jennifer said. Well, I took part, and I was at the United Nations during the Ocean Day, invited by the president of Fiji, and I was next to him when we made the declaration. I would like, for those who are not aware, that SIBJO is the only one who is recognized into the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations for sustainability issues since 2006. I would like also to underline the fact that every single pearl has a story, because I have been visiting pearl farms all around the world, from Australia to French Polynesia to Philippines, wherever in the world. And I can say that I have seen people that is talking to each oyster like somebody talked to his or her, in this case, own child, you know, taking care and talking to the oyster and see how the health of the oyster, because producing the pearl, is healthy, I would say. But it will be a long story, because in terms of sustainability, even what the pearl farms and farmers has done is truly incredible for the benefit of the ecosystem and the benefit of the water. Last year we had our Congress in Bahrain. Jennifer was there, and we truly enjoyed seeing how in the Gulf still natural pearls are there. However, I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank Sean. And the reason why I'm thanking Sean is because you mentioned Jose Hess, who was my predecessor as chair of CIBJO, the World Jewelry Organization. And the reason why I was elected president is because him. He was my friend, he was my mentor, he was somebody that was next to me since the last 20 years and more, and I was consulting him every day, and for me was one of my very worst day in terms of sadness. I spoke to Maggie Hess just after the moment he passed away. We lost a great designers. We lost a great leader. We lost a giant in our industry. So I want to thank you on behalf of CIBJO, on behalf of myself and all the board of directors and members, and on behalf of him, that looking what we have done today, I'm sure that he is very proud of all of you. And I want to thank all our friends that were with us today. I mean, many hundred friends. And I'm sorry if I am a little bit long, but you know, I was saying that remember Jose Hess. You all, or those who knew him, when you say, "Oh, Jose, how are you?" and his answer was strong like a bull, because you know, because he was what he was, and like every single pearl and every single piece of jewelry, when you lost something like this, it's not replaceable. So thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Gaetano. A fitting tribute to end a visual sensation this afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. I have no further actions except to thank very much the Cultured Pearl Association of America for helping us with putting on this beautiful presentation this afternoon. And thanking my panelists, Jennifer, Peggy, Sean, Patricia, and Melanie. Thank you so much for your time, for being with us, and your wisdom and your expertise in sharing what was difficult to select just 5 pieces. So thank you for whittling them down. Thank you to Gaetano and CIBJO and the board of directors for supporting this series. But most importantly, thank you to all of you for joining and spending some time with us to look at these beautiful creations from the oceans. We will end the webinar now, but there's been so much discussion in the chat. So I think we'll leave the slides up and you can look back through the chat. I sometimes in webinars, when as soon as they finish talking, it ends. And you want to look through the chat box to see everything that was written. So we'll leave that up for a while, but we'll mute our microphones and turn our videos off. But thank you very much from me, and thank you from everybody else for joining. We'll see you next month, March 4th, when we'll be talking about jewelry branding. More information on CIBJO's social on that. in due course. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.